The sky over planet Virelia was dark and filled with smoke. Fire burned in the distance. The war between Earth and the Virelian Empire had been going on for 8 long years. Many cities were destroyed. Millions of lives were lost on both sides. Now Earth's army was ready to attack the Virelian capital, the last step to win the war. Captain Leo Grant stood in front of his squad. He was tall, strong, and known as a brave soldier. His armor was scratched from many battles. He looked at his team and spoke in a calm voice. This is it. The final mission. We take the capital, and the war ends. The soldiers nodded. They were tired, but ready. Everyone believed the Virelians would fight until the last breath. Just then, a communication officer ran into the room holding a tablet. "Sir!" A message from the enemy. Directly from Queen Asera. Leo raised an eyebrow. "What does it say?" The officer looked confused. "She wants to speak. To you. Alone." Leo blinked. "Me? Why?" "No details, sir. But she says this. Cease. All fire. I request a parley. I will speak only with Captain Leo Grant. No weapons, no lies." Silence filled the room. The generals didn't trust it. One of them, General Harris, spoke sharply. "This is a trick. She wants to waste time or kill our best man. We're this close to winning." But Earth's president, watching the feed from a space station, gave a different order. "We've fought long enough," she said. "If there's a chance for peace, we must try. Captain Grant, do you accept this meeting?" Leo took a deep breath. He had seen too much war, too many young soldiers dying. If talking could stop the bloodshed, maybe it was worth the risk. Accept. Later that day, a small white ship carried Leo toward the Virelian palace. He wore no armor, only a clean uniform. His hands were empty. Inside his chest, his heart beat fast. He had faced death many times. But this was different. The ship landed in a peaceful garden. Tall blue trees surrounded the area. Crystals sparkled under the sun. Strange bird-like creatures flew overhead. Virelian guards stood still but did not aim their weapons. A tall figure walked forward. It was Queen Asera. She wore a long robe made of silver and purple. Her skin was smooth and slightly glowing, the color of soft violet. Her eyes were sharp, but not cruel. Her long dark hair flowed behind her like water. She looked young, but her eyes showed experience. "Captain Grant," she said, her voice clear and calm. "Thank you for coming." Leo bowed slightly. "Queen Asera, I came because I want this war to end." She nodded. "So do I, but not with more fire and blood." They walked together into a shining hall made of crystal walls. It was quiet inside. No guards followed. Asera turned to face him. "Let me speak clearly. I will not waste your time." Leo stood tall, listening. She said, "If you desire peace between our people, then marry me." Leo froze. "What did you say?" "Marry me," she repeated. "Not out of love, not yet, but out of duty. Our laws are ancient. A binding pact through marriage is the strongest agreement we have. If we become husband and wife, our worlds become one. The war ends, and peace begins." Leo didn't know what to say. He had expected traps or maybe surrender, but this was something no one could have guessed. "Why me?" he asked. "You are not only a hero," she said. "You are respected by your people, brave, but not cruel. I watched your actions. You spared civilians. You avoided killing when possible. You have a mind for peace." Leo looked away. "I'm a soldier, not a prince." "You are more than that," she said. "And I am more than a queen. I am a woman who wants to stop the killing. I am tired of burying my people. Aren't you tired too?" Leo was quiet. He thought of his friends who had died. He thought of the young soldiers still waiting to fight tomorrow. He thought of Earth, broken and poor from war spending. He thought of a galaxy that might finally sleep in peace. Still, he said, I can't decide this alone. I know, Asera said. Go, talk to your leaders, but remember this. We are at a turning point. One more battle, and both sides will lose more than they can fix, or we can try something new, something brave. She reached out her hand. Leo looked at it. He didn't shake it yet, but he didn't turn away. Later that night, as he flew back to the human base, Leo stared out the window. The stars looked the same as always, cold and endless. But something had changed. A queen had asked him to end a war, not with a gun, but with a promise, and Leo had to decide. Captain Leo Grant stood in the middle of the war room. Human generals, officers, and diplomats sat around the big round table. On the large screen, Earth's president, Maria Chen, looked serious. Everyone had just heard Leo's report. He had told them everything, about Queen Asera's strange offer, about the ancient Varelian marriage pact, and about her promise to stop the war. No one spoke at first. Then voices exploded around the room. She wants what? This is a trick. Captain, are you sure she was serious? This can't be real. Leo stood calm while everyone argued. President Chen raised her hand. Silence. The room went quiet. She looked directly at Leo. Captain, you believe her? Leo nodded slowly. Yes, Madam President. She could have killed me, but she didn't. She spoke honestly. She's tired of this war, just like us. General Harris leaned forward. We're ready to win. One last strike, and the Varelians fall. Why throw it away? Leo answered. Because we've been saying that for years. One last strike. And yet, the war keeps going. Millions are already dead. How many more do we want to lose? An older diplomat said, even if this is real, you'd be marrying an alien queen. Our cultures are too different. The people will never accept it. But President Chen raised her voice again. Let's look at this differently. If one marriage can end a war, why not consider it? A political union through marriage is not new. Humans did it on Earth for centuries. She turned to Leo. I will not force you. This must be your decision. But if you choose to accept her proposal, you will not be alone. We will support you. Leo took a deep breath. Then I need to go back. I need to talk to her again. I need to understand what kind of life she wants and what kind of peace we're building. 2 days later, Leo's ship returned to Varelia. This time, he was greeted with more respect. Asera met him in the palace garden, where strange flowers glowed softly in the wind. You came back, she said with a small smile. Leo nodded. I have questions. Ask. Why marriage? Why not a normal treaty? Asera walked slowly beside him. Varelians don't trust paper. We believe in living bonds. A royal marriage becomes a sacred law. It connects our bloodlines. It changes how our people think. Peace becomes personal, not just political. Leo looked at her. You're offering your life to stop a war. Yes, she said. I would rather marry my former enemy than watch another city burn. They walked to a quiet fountain. The water sparkled like diamonds. Leo asked, what happens after? I live here? You come to Earth? What do we become? She looked at him honestly. We become leaders of a new future. You would live here first, as my husband, yes, but also as Earth's ambassador. Together we'll build trust, and maybe friendship. Leo looked down. And love? Asera didn't smile or laugh. She answered carefully. Love is not born in a day, but I believe it can grow, even between two people who were once enemies. If not love, then respect. If not passion, then peace. Leo sat quietly for a moment. Do you know how humans will react? Some will call me a traitor. Asera replied, Some Varelians already call me weak for asking peace. But the strong do not follow the noise. The strong lead the way. Leo looked at her again. For a long moment, neither spoke. But in the silence, something invisible passed. Between them, something calm, something true. Back on Earth's base, the news had already leaked. Alien queen proposes to human hero. Wedding or war? Peace talks turn romantic? People across Earth and Virelia were divided. Some cheered, others protested. But one thing was clear. The war had paused. No shots fired, no bombs dropped. Hope had entered the galaxy. That night, Leo sat alone in his quarters in the palace. A small Varelian child passed by and waved shyly at him through the glass wall. Leo smiled and waved back. He thought about the war, about his fallen friends, about the dream of peace. He didn't know if he loved Asera. He didn't even know if he truly understood her yet, but he knew she was brave. She wanted peace, and she was offering a chance to stop everything, not with more death, but with a promise. He whispered to himself, "What if this is how peace starts, with something no one expects?" The next morning, Leo stood once more in front of Asera. In the crystal throne room, she waited calmly. "Have you decided?" Leo gave a small nod. "I have." A small group of guards, nobles, and Earth representatives watched from the side. Leo stepped forward. "I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if this will be easy. But if you're willing to try, then so am I." He held out his hand. Queen Asera smiled. Not a cold smile, but a soft, warm one. She placed her hand in his. The Varelian guards bowed. The Earth delegates clapped quietly. In that moment, two worlds changed. Captain Leo Grant sat inside a quiet room in the Varelian palace. The walls were smooth and glowing, made of crystal stone. The lights above moved like stars, slowly shifting colors. It felt peaceful, but also strange. This was not Earth. He was far from home. A few days had passed since Leo gave his answer to Queen Asera. He had said yes to her offer. He had accepted her proposal. Not for love, but for peace. Still, his mind was full of questions. He looked at a photo on his table. It was old. It showed Leo with his squad, his friends from the early days of the war. Most of them were gone now. The war had taken them. That was why he had said yes, so no more friends would be lost, but not everyone agreed. A video call came through. It was from Earth. The face of General Harris appeared. His voice was serious and cold. "Captain Grant, I speak for a group of commanders. We believe you've gone too far." Leo stayed calm. "I haven't betrayed anyone. I'm still loyal to Earth." "Are you?" "You're sitting in the enemy's palace. You've accepted a marriage offer from the Varelian queen. You're becoming part of their royal family." Leo replied, "I'm doing what no one else had the courage to do. Stop this war. Without more killing." Harris's eyes narrowed. "You think she loves you? You think this marriage will last?" Leo answered, "I don't care if she loves me yet. What matters is that she wants peace. So do I." Harris ended the call with a warning. "Some people on Earth will never accept this. Be careful." Later that day, Asera invited Leo to a private garden deep inside the palace. The air was fresh and cool. Strange birds sang songs that sounded like soft music. Asera was wearing a simple robe. No crown, no guards, just her. "You seem heavy with thought," she said. Leo gave a tired smile. "Earth is divided. Some want peace. Some don't trust this." Asera sat beside a small, glowing pond. "I expected this. Peace always feels strange after long war. Some people miss the fight. They forget what it cost." Leo sat down too. "Do you trust me?" She looked at him. "I trust your soul. I do not trust all humans." But I believe in you. He nodded. I trust you too, but we need more than trust. We need a plan. Asera smiled. Then let us begin. For the next week, Leo and Asera worked together. They met with leaders, generals, and diplomats from both worlds. They discussed how to end the war step by step. Human troops would slowly leave Varelian land. Varelian ships would stop patrols near Earth's colonies. A joint peace council would be created, half human, half Varelian. Trade, science, and culture exchanges would begin. People on both sides started to talk about the future. Some still hated the idea of peace, but others began to hope. And as Leo and Asera spent more time together, they began to laugh more, talk longer, and understand each other better. They still had differences. Leo loved coffee. Asera preferred Varelian root tea. Leo liked simple clothes. Asera liked elegant robes. Leo was direct. Asera liked to think before speaking, but in those differences they found balance. One night, Asera asked Leo, "Do you think we will ever become real partners? Not just for peace, but for life?" Leo was quiet. He looked at her. Her eyes were gentle. Her face was tired, but kind. "I don't know," he said softly, "but I think it's possible." Back on Earth, people watched everything closely. On the news, many debated. This is a smart move. This is madness. He's a hero. He's a traitor. But then something happened. In a human city, a group of Varelian prisoners were released. They had been held for years. When they returned home, they told stories, not of torture, but of kindness. Some had made friends with Earth soldiers. One even said, "A human gave me his blanket when I was sick." These small stories began to change minds. People realized maybe enemies could become something more. One day, Asera gave Leo a gift. It was a small metal symbol, half Earth, half Varelia. "This is for you," she said. "It means unity. It is old Varelian language, from before the wars." Leo held it in his hand. "It's beautiful. It's also powerful," Asera said. "Symbols can change hearts." Leo looked into her eyes. "So can people. Their wedding was still weeks away, but already a new story was being written. Not a story of battle, a story of courage, a story of peace, a story of two people, once enemies, now walking toward a new future. Together. The day began with light rain falling over the Varelian capital. Soft drops touched the palace walls made of crystal. It was peaceful, almost quiet, but inside the palace, big things were happening. Captain Leo Grant sat at a long table. On one side were human officers. On the other side were Varelian nobles. Between them sat Queen Asera. In front of them were plates of food, some human, some alien. This was the first unity dinner, a meeting to build trust, not with weapons but with words. And food. Leo looked at the strange purple fruit on his plate. "What's this called again?" A Varelian elder replied politely. "Zellerin. Sweet inside. Peel it first." Leo smiled, peeled the fruit, and took a bite. Not bad. Across the table, a young human officer tasted a green Varelian soup. His face turned red. Everyone laughed, even Asera. This was a good sign. People who had once fought each other were now sharing meals, talking, listening. Some were still unsure, but no one raised their voice, and no one walked away. Later, Asera and Leo walked through the palace gardens. Blue flowers glowed softly as they passed. "That went better than I expected," Leo said. Asera nodded. "Small steps. Today they share food. Tomorrow maybe ideas." Leo looked at her. "You've changed since we first met," she smiled. "So have you." Leo thought for a moment. "We've been busy with meetings, planning, preparing, but what about us?" Asera raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean, we're getting married? But we never had a normal moment together. A quiet one. Just us. Sarah laughed gently. You want a date? Leo chuckled. Maybe. Something simple. She thought for a second. Tomorrow, sunset. I'll show you something special. The next day, as the sun began to set, Sarah led Leo to the top of the palace tower. The view was wide and beautiful. The two moons of Virelia were rising, glowing softly in the sky. This is my favorite place, Sarah said. I used to come here as a child. Leo stood beside her looking at the moons. It's peaceful. She handed him a small drink in a crystal cup. It's a Virelian tradition. Before a marriage, the couple drinks this together. It's not strong, just sweet. Leo took a sip. It tasted like honey and stars. Sarah looked at him. Do you feel ready for this? The wedding, I mean. Leo was quiet for a moment. I'm ready to try. I won't pretend I know everything, but I believe in what we're doing. She smiled softly. So do I. They stood together, watching the sky. No one spoke, no guards, no politics. Just two people, breathing the same air, hoping for the same future. But not everyone was happy. In the shadows of the city, a group of angry Virelians gathered. They were soldiers who had lost family in the war. They didn't trust humans, and they hated the idea of their queen marrying one. One of them, a former commander named Rex, slammed, his fist on the table. She betrays our blood. She invites the enemy into our palace. And we do nothing? Another replied, what can we do? The people like the queen. They like peace. Rex's eyes were cold. Then we give them a reason to hate again. A terrible plan was born that night. The next morning, Leo was walking through the lower palace garden when he felt something strange, a sharp noise. A sudden flash, a small explosion went off near the wall. Guards shouted. People screamed. Leo fell to the ground, his side bleeding, but he was alive. Within seconds, Sarah was by his side, eyes wide with fear. Leo! Medics rushed in. He was taken to the medical wing. The wound was deep, but not deadly. Sarah was furious. She called her guards. Find who did this, now! Within hours, the traitors were caught. Rex and his group were planning more attacks, but the Queen's forces acted fast. Sarah stood before them in chains. You wanted to destroy peace, she said. You failed. Rex spat at the ground. You are weak. No, she replied. I am stronger than you, because I choose to build, not burn. Leo woke up in the medical chamber, bandaged and tired. Sarah sat beside him, holding his hand. You scared me, she said softly. Leo smiled weakly. I'm hard to kill. She laughed gently, then looked serious. You don't have to stay. This is dangerous. I understand if... Leo squeezed her hand. No, I'm not going anywhere. News of the attack spread quickly, but instead of breaking the peace, it made it stronger. Virelian citizens marched in the streets, not in protest, but in support. They held signs. Peace is power. We choose unity. Long live the Queen. Long live the Captain. On Earth, people watched the news and saw something they hadn't seen before. Hope. That night, Sarah visited Leo again. He was sitting up now, stronger. She brought a gift, a small golden ring with a blue stone in the center. This is the first ring, she said. You don't have to wear it yet, but I wanted you to see it. Leo held it gently. It's beautiful. It was made by both human and Virelian hands, she said. A symbol of what we're creating. Leo looked into her eyes. We're not just marrying for peace anymore, are we? Sarah smiled. No, not anymore. The palace was quiet again. The garden paths were repaired. The flowers were blooming. But deep inside, Queen Sarah was still worried. Captain Leo Grant was healing, but slowly. The wound from the attack was serious. Every morning, Sarah visited, him in the medical wing. Every time, Leo smiled and said, "I'm fine," even when he was clearly in pain. "You don't have to act strong," Sarah said one morning, sitting beside his bed. Leo gave a small grin. "That's the only way." "I know." Sarah gently held his hand. "You almost died." "But I didn't," he replied. "And that means we still have work to do." Across both planets, the news of the attack had changed everything. At first, people were afraid. They thought the peace might end. But then something strange happened. Virelians and humans, regular people, not soldiers, started to write letters to each other. Children drew pictures of Earth and Virelia together. Musicians wrote songs about hope. Artists painted Sarah and Leo standing side by side. Even though some leaders still had doubts, the hearts of the people were changing. But danger was not gone. A small group of radicals, both human and Virelian, were still angry. They hated the marriage. They hated peace. These were people who had lost too much in the war. In their hearts, only anger remained. One human extremist named Draven met secretly with a Virelian rebel. They stood in a hidden cave on a frozen moon. "This peace is a lie," Draven said. The Virelian replied, "The Queen has forgotten our dead." Draven's voice was sharp. "Then we remind them, not with words, but with action." They shook hands and began planning something worse. Meanwhile, in the palace, Sarah and Leo prepared for the wedding. There was still pain between them, but also healing. Every evening, they walked together in the garden. Sarah taught Leo how to read the old Virelian symbols carved into the stones. "This one means unity," she said, pointing to a glowing mark. "It only shines when two people touch it together." Leo placed his hand next to hers. The stone glowed bright blue. Sarah smiled. "It accepts us." Leo looked at her. "Do you accept me?" She didn't answer with words. She just nodded and touched her forehead gently to his. The wedding day was set. It would be held on a floating platform above the ocean between Earth and Virelia. Half the guests would be from Earth, half from Virelia. It would be the first time in history that the two worlds shared a ceremony as one. But as plans were being made, security teams found something terrifying. A strange device, hidden inside. A gift box sent to the palace. It was a bomb, a silent one. Clean, small, but deadly. If it had been opened, it could have destroyed half the royal wing. The guards quickly shut down the area. The gift was traced to a fake human name, one that didn't exist. A clear message. Someone was trying to kill them. Again. Leo sat up in bed when he heard the news. "I thought they gave up," he said, voice cold. Sarah stood near the window, hands behind her back. "There are always shadows in peace. Some people don't want to let go of hate." Leo clenched his fists. "Do we cancel the wedding?" Sarah turned. Her eyes were fierce. "No. We do not hide. If we hide, they win." Leo nodded slowly. "Then let's make the wedding bigger. Let's show the whole galaxy." Earth agreed to double the security. Virelia added 2 sky guards to protect the wedding space. Every gift would be scanned, every guest confirmed. The message was clear. Peace would not be stopped. As the wedding date came closer, Sarah gave Leo one final gift before the ceremony. She handed him a box with a silver pin inside. It was the shape of 2 wings, one Earth wing, one Virelian. "Wing, joined at the center. This was made by a human child," she said. "A girl who lost her brother in the war. She said this was her dream, that no other brother would have to fight again." Leo took the pin and placed it on his chest. "That's why I'm marrying you," he said. Sarah smiled. "And that's why I said yes." That night, Leo stood alone on the palace balcony. He looked at the stars above. He thought about his journey, a soldier, a fighter, a survivor, and now, a symbol of peace. He didn't know what the future would bring. He didn't know if love would grow, but he knew one thing for sure. He and Asera had done something no one else had dared to do. They had changed the galaxy, with courage, not guns. The day of the wedding dawned bright and clear. The floating platform above the ocean between Earth and Virelia shimmered under the twin suns. Ships from both worlds arrived, painting the sky with colors and lights. People gathered, humans and Virelians alike, watching history being made. Captain Leo Grant stood beside Queen Asera. His armor was polished, and he wore the silver pin with the two wings, a gift from a young girl. Asera wore a flowing robe woven from Virelian silk, shining with soft violet hues. Her eyes were calm but strong. Around them, leaders, diplomats, soldiers, and citizens waited quietly. This was no ordinary wedding. It was a promise to the galaxy. Peace was possible. Leo glanced at Asera. She smiled softly. "Are you ready?" she asked. Leo nodded. More than ever. The ceremony began with the traditional words from both cultures spoken in their languages, echoing over the ocean and into space. Asera spoke first, her voice clear and steady. "I, Asera, Queen of Virelia, choose you, Leo Grant, not only as my husband, but as the symbol of our new future." Leo replied, "I, Leo Grant, accept your hand, your trust, and your hope. Together, we will build peace for our people." They exchanged simple rings, one made from Earth's metals, the other from Virelian crystals. When they slipped the rings onto each other's fingers, the floating platform glowed softly, as if the universe itself celebrated. The crowd erupted in cheers. Humans and Virelians alike stood, clapping and smiling. For many, this was a dream come true. For some, it was a shock, but even they could not deny the hope it brought. After the ceremony, Leo and Asera walked hand in hand along the platform's edge. The ocean below sparkled, reflecting the new light of unity. "We did it," Leo said quietly. "Yes," Asera replied, "but this is just the beginning." The weeks that followed were full of work. Leo became Earth's ambassador to Virelia, living in the palace and learning the ways of the Empire. Asera led reforms, opening her government to new ideas and voices. Together, they traveled to cities damaged by war, meeting with survivors, soldiers, and children. Their presence was a symbol that peace was not just words, but action. In one small village, a young boy shyly approached Leo. "Are you really the captain who married the queen?" he asked. Leo smiled. "Yes, I am." The boy's eyes shone. "Thank you. Because of you, my family can live without fear." Leo knelt and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "That's why we keep trying." Not everyone accepted the change. Some politicians and military leaders on both planets whispered behind closed doors. They feared losing power or doubted the new peace. One night, Leo and Asera met in a quiet room, away from the palace halls. "Do you ever worry," Leo asked, "that this peace won't last?" Asera looked out the window at the stars. "I do, but peace is not a gift. It is a choice. Every day, we must choose it again." Leo nodded. "Then we keep choosing it. Together." Months passed. Trade between Earth and Virelia increased. New schools taught both languages and histories. Scientists shared knowledge. Artists painted, wrote songs, and danced together. One evening, Leo and Asera stood on the palace balcony, watching children from both worlds playing in the gardens. Asera squeezed Leo's hand. "Look at them. They don't know war. They only know friendship." Leo smiled. "This is why we fought for peace. Though challenges remained, Hope was stronger. Leo once gave a speech to both worlds, broadcast across the galaxy. He said, "It wasn't our weapons that brought peace. It was our courage to listen, to trust, and to love, even across the stars." The morning sun rose gently over the blue-green seas between Earth and Virelia. The great floating platform still shimmered from the wedding day. Banners flew in the wind, mixing Earth's stars and stripes with Virelian symbols of light. The galaxy watched in silence and hope. Captain Leo Grant and Queen Asera stood side by side on the platform. Their hands were joined, not as enemies, but as partners. The ceremony had been more than a wedding. It was a promise to all people. Peace was possible. Months had passed since that day. The war was over. Leo had become Earth's ambassador to Virelia. He walked the palace halls not as a soldier, but as a bridge between two worlds. He met with Virelian leaders, learned their language, and shared stories of Earth. Asera, still queen, ruled wisely. She opened her empire to Earth's scientists, artists, and thinkers. Together they built new cities, new schools, and new hopes. One day, Leo and Asera visited a new school built for children from both planets. The children laughed and ran, speaking different languages but playing together as friends. Leo watched a small boy from Earth hold hands with a Virelian girl. They smiled shyly but happily. "Do you think it will last?" Leo asked Asera. She smiled softly. "It must, for their sake." But peace was not easy. Old wounds still hurt. Some people on both planets missed the war. Some whispered in the shadows. Some tried to cause trouble. One evening, Leo received a message from Earth's president. "We face new challenges," she wrote. "Some groups want to break the peace. They want to bring back hate and fear." Leo replied, "We must be strong. We must show the world that unity is more powerful than division." Together, Leo and Asera spoke to the people. They held speeches on Earth and Virelia. They told stories of bravery, kindness, and trust. They reminded everyone that peace was not weakness, but strength. Slowly, the voices of hate grew quieter. The voices of hope grew louder. At night, Leo and Asera often walked, the palace gardens now full of flowers from both planets. They talked about their journey, the war, the promise, the love that had slowly grown between them. One night, Leo took Asera's hand and said, "I didn't know if I could love an alien queen." She laughed softly. "I didn't know if I could love a human soldier. But now," he smiled, "now I can't imagine life without you." The queen looked at him with eyes full of warmth. "Neither can I." They stood quietly, knowing that the galaxy was changing because two people had chosen peace over war, because they had chosen to believe in each other. Years passed. The alliance between Earth and Virelia grew stronger. Trade routes opened. Scientists shared discoveries. Artists created beauty together. And children born from both worlds learned about the past but dreamed only of the future. And somewhere in the stars, far from battlefields and hatred, peace lived, thanks to a soldier's courage and a queen's heart.